It's a tight game, Mitch, and then what do you think led to things unraveling?
Give them a lot of credit. They are in the top tier of the league in terms of having a real identity and playing to that identity. And when a team, specifically us, obviously I'm alluding to, but I think in general, gets away from how they play or their identity, they are very, very disciplined and consistent in that regard. It does not go with the score, the results of a play, the reffing, who's in. They're very clear on who they are as a team, and it shows, and they get a lot of credit for that.
What is the challenge of playing a team like them with the pace that they relentlessly play at?
It's discipline, and you have to fight that with some relentlessness back. But it needs to be disciplined again, unless you play that style, which, we want to play fast, but not in the same quite light as they do, if that makes sense. And so I think last game I talked about a style of a fight, and you feel that where they start imposing their will on the game. And it doesn't necessarily have to even be the score. And I think they are a great reflection of a team that believes over time their identity will show through as they impose their will. And you give them a lot of credit for that.
Has that been a challenge, Mitch, specifically against teams? I'm thinking of like Chicago plays with a lot of pace. You had trouble with them. Has that been an issue for this team, you think?
At times. Yeah, I think at times. I think it's not a young thing, so I'm not going to say that. But I do think it is an experience thing of understanding fool's gold, for lack of a better term, and not trying to overtalk as much as I already have, but just understanding that everything isn't as good as it feels at the time in the first, second, and third quarter, especially if it's feeding into how they want the game to go.
When you have two straight games against the same team and kind of starts close, finishes not so close, are you able to look at those as a collective, or are they still very individual, I guess, in your eyes when you're taking a look back at what happened?
I think both. I think every game takes on its own personality, but again, when you play the same team, you're going to have a lot of similarities and things that intertwine just because it's a lot of the same people out there. And again, we are not adjusting too much other than a few wrinkles or tweaks here and there, but we're not trying to be a different team every game. So when you have the same two teams playing, there'll be a lot of similarities.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think you called a timeout during that run at the end of the third quarter. What were you hoping the guys would sort of figure out on the fly? Or
I didn't have one.
Oh, that would be a good reason.
Yeah. But, again, it's one of those where I think guys were trying to make plays, and the way they guard and the way the game was going, it probably was going to be the second, third, or fourth action or person trying to make a play. And I think when we look back at it, I don't know if we took bad shots, we took quick shots. And again, you just put yourself in the potential possibility if you miss the shot, here we go. And that's what happened in that stretch, it felt like, at least until I look back at it.
Are they really cognizant of that fool's gold aspect that you talked about, and are you optimistic that they'll make the necessary adjustments? I mean, you got Indiana coming up, a team with a lot of pace. And
I hope so, and we will see.
Thank you.
thank you. Steph, looking forward, you guys have had difficulty playing with teams with pace. How do you solve that, or how can you get better at it?
Really just get better with our communication, getting back, especially off missed shots. I feel like we'd be cross-matched, and sometimes we try and run back to our matchup instead of building a wall, and that's how teams go on runs.
What happened at the end of the third there, like when they went on, I think it was a 16-0 run to close the quarter?
Yeah, I felt like we were settling a little too much. I think we were in the bonus with like 8 minutes left in that corner, So I thought we should have attacked a lot more, try to get some easier buckets, knowing that they couldn't really foul us, especially with that much time on the clock. So yeah, I just felt like we were settling a lot, and they were getting out in transition and playing how they like to play.
Is it concerning that you've got a little trend going now where it's been tough to win games, and you're coming up on the midpoint of the season, things were going great, and now it's a little rough spot?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's concerning. I feel like every team goes through it. I mean, we just got to get back to our identity with defense. Taking pride on that side of the court, especially with teams like that like to play fast. Got to get better with our communication and transition defense.
What are you doing well in first? These are two pretty good first halves in a row for you. What has worked well for you in both of those first halves?
Just being aggressive, trying to find my spots in transition, especially when they're cross-matched. I know that they had a game plan to put it big on me and try and have somebody kind of level out with Vic. So the faster we could play and just play with open space while the big is slow getting back, then we could play with cross matches and be aggressive.
Victor showed an awful lot of faith in you in that lob that you didn't quite get to. Was that were you expecting that at all?
I mean, we've done it a couple times in practice, so it's not the first time I've seen it. It's not the first time he's thrown a lob like that, so I wouldn't say I was expecting it, but I'm not surprised by it.
Last night you mentioned taking what the defense was giving you. Is there something that Memphis does that kind of you've had 2 great games against them specifically. Is there something that they're doing, the way they're guarding you, that kind of allows you to find your spots on offense?
I would just say they were giving me a lot of space to get a running start towards the rim, and they're really trying to keep their matchups. So I was just telling our guys if they're going to screen for me, just make sure you get a hit, because they really don't want to switch off you guys. So just staying aggressive. Like CP was telling me, just stay aggressive. And just being aggressive doesn't mean I always have to go score. Just drawing to try and get open shots from my teammates as well.
You just brought up playing more to your identity. Mitch talked about not falling into the trap of playing to another team's identity. How do you, as a group, collectively stay out of falling into that kind of trap where you start playing the way another team likes to play? Yeah,
we just got to find a way to weather the storm, especially when teams start to go on runs. I wouldn't say just play slower, but like I said earlier, just try and get easier buckets for ourselves, not settle as much. HB mentioned it in one of our huddles, try and get to the second and third action on every possession, trying to make them guard, tire them out a little bit, and then that'll also help our transition defense.
Mitch talked before the game a little bit about Keldon, his adjustment to coming off the bench after being a starter. Are there some things you picked up from Keldon, knowing that you'll go back to the bench eventually?
Yeah, just the energy he brings every day, really. Not even every game. He brings it in practice, shoot around, just always having that high motor. When you have that skill, I feel like it doesn't matter whether you come off the bench or start, and that's why he's been successful for us.
Very good. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.